Hello, first graders. Today we're going to be using shapes to compose or make new shapes. And here are the things you're going to need, which are attached on the website after this lesson. But I want to make this very clear. If you can't print it out for whatever reason, your printer's not working, you don't have a printer, you don't have the right ink. I know I'm running pretty low on ink myself. Please know that you can do this lesson just using paper and having an adult help you to cut out some shapes. So you do not need the things I'm about to tell you to go ahead and get, but if you're able to print them out, it makes it just a little bit easier. So you're going to need this grid with all these little outlines of triangle shapes. You're going to need this set of shapes, but for right now, we're only going to be using the triangles. So you're going to cut out this shape and then cut these triangles to end up with smaller triangles that look like that. So go ahead and pause the lesson and take care of that and come right back. Thanks. All right, so now that you have what you need, I'm going to ask you to take two of the triangles and we're going to compose a new shape using these two triangles, but here's the rule. They can't touch point to point. They have to touch side to side. And you can go ahead and do that using the top row of your grid if you have one to go ahead and make a new shape in that shape. So once you do that, go ahead and use a marker or a pencil or a crayon to outline that shape on those dotted lines the best you can. And then make sure they're closed because these are going to be closed shapes. So there's, go ahead and see what else you can do using these two shapes in order to make a new shape. So I did it this way, and then I put my shapes together like this. And I did it that way. So I'm going to go ahead and outline that one. And there we go. Now you might have noticed that these are actually the same shape. If I look at how this one is, if I turn my paper like this, I made the exact same shape that I made over there. It's just pointing in a different direction. So let's talk about this shape. This shape is not a rectangle, but it's like a rectangle in some ways. Can you think of the ways that it's like a rectangle? So if you're thinking like me, like a rectangle, it has 1, 2, 3, 4 sides. It has 1, 2, 3, 4 corners. And if you measure them out, the two opposite sides are the same length. That's how it's like a rectangle. But it's different from a rectangle because it doesn't have square corners. These corners do not square up. Even if I turned it like this, they're not square. They're at a different angle. So let's go ahead, and now that we've made this shape, I want you to try to make some shapes using 3 triangles instead of 2 triangles. So same thing, you're going to line them up. We can't line points together, but we can line the flat sides together to make a new shape. And I'm going to try it here. And if I put these 3 together, I'm going to just move it over a little bit so it doesn't overlap with. And there, I made a new shape using 3 triangles. You go ahead and try it. Pause the video and see if you can do it other ways. All right, so You might have made one like me. You might have also made one that looks like this using the 3 triangles and then outlined it. And I can also put my 3 triangles this way, lining up the sides. Move it over one so it doesn't touch. Well, I guess it's going to touch. Maybe I'll move it over here. There we go. And you might have also done it like this. So now we have a different shape, and let's see how this one compares to a rectangle. So we know it has, oh, and you might have noticed that this shape is the same shape as this shape, just flipped, and this shape and this shape and this shape are all the same. This one's just flipped on its side. But if we look at it like a rectangle, it has 1, 2, 3, 4 sides, and it has 1, 2, 3, 4 corners. But those corners are not square. And the other thing is, if I measure this top side and its opposite side, those are not the same length. These two, if I measure them, are the same length, but these two are not. This shape is called a trapezoid. Say trapezoid. Yeah, so a trapezoid has 4 sides, 4 corners that are not square, and these 2 sides, one set of sides, are not the same length, but the other set of sides are the same length. So that's a trapezoid. Now I'm going to ask you to use 4 of these squares to go ahead and make some more shapes on your grid or on your paper, however you have it. So go ahead and pause and make as many as you can. I'll pause too and see how many I can make using 4 triangles. All right, so when I combined 4 of these triangles, I was able to make 2 different shapes. One was a large triangle. I could put it together and make a large triangle. The other one was this shape, which is similar to the shape that we made up here, just a little bit bigger, and that's called a parallelogram. And parallelograms are 4-sided shapes, 1, 2, 3, 4, with 4 corners, 1, 2, 3, 4, but the corners are not square corners, and the opposite sides are the same length. So it's called a parallelogram. So now I'm going to ask you to take all, and you might have been able to make some other kind of cool, kind of goofy shapes, like maybe this one, or maybe moving it over here. But now I'm going to ask you to take all 6 of your triangles and make a shape using that triangle, or these all 6 triangles, remembering that you can't touch the corners together, the sides have to touch together. Go ahead and try that. So this is what I came up with when I used all 6 of the triangles. I put them together like this. I started this way, even though I said no points, because I know I'm going to fill in and do a side to side, and a side to side to side, and another side to side. And I ended up with this shape. I'm going to outline this shape real quick. And this shape is called a hexagon. So how would you describe a hexagon? Maybe you described it like this. It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sides, and it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 corners. So now, from that sheet, if you want to take a moment to pause and cut out some shapes that you're going to just do some exploring with. So I cut out these 2 shapes and this shape. We just talked about the shape. It's called a hexagon, and they're both hexagons. I'm going to put one inside the other so you can see that they both have 6 sides, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 6 corners. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then also this big triangle. If I put one of these little triangles inside, we can know that a triangle has 1, 2, 3 sides and 1, 2, 3 corners. So spend a little time using these shapes to explore a little bit. And with somebody at home, a brother or a sister or a mom or a dad or a grandma or a grandpa, go ahead and as you compose shapes, talk about what you're noticing. Talk about how many sides there are, talk about how many corners there are, and what you're noticing about the sides. Go ahead and pause the video and go and do that for a couple of minutes. So if you're like me, you might have noticed that when I put these 4 green smaller triangles together, it looks just like this purple one. If I lay it right on top, you can see it's a pretty good match. Knowing that triangles have how many sides? 3. And how many corners? Yep, 3. And that if I were to take these triangles and put it on top of this hexagon, just like we laid it on the grid, putting all those points together, it's the same size, just about the same size. You might have come up with some other shapes with different sides and different numbers of corners and different angles of corners. They could have been those square corners like we see on squares and rectangles, or it could have been corners at different angles like we see on some triangles and hexagons and parallelograms and trapezoids. But lots of different ways that we can manipulate and compose shapes. All right. There will not be an extra sheet to go along with this one. I'm going to attach it to tomorrow's lesson. So just have some fun exploring with shapes and then save all these shapes in a baggie with your other shapes so we can use them again. Thanks a lot. Bye.